You're listening to a Faith Matters podcast.
There we go. You're right back with us on Faith Matters in our segment in Becoming Unoffendable. Denise is in the studio. She has been all along. And now she is with us talking about her blog for the week. Have we got the blog title? We have. We thought it would be better. Checking our assumptions is what the blog is all about this week. Yeah, kind of lead us into this week's blog, Denise, what it was all about.
Well, we thought it would be better. A few months ago, our neighbours had some work done because their waterproofing, when they built their house, hadn't quite been done right. And it had taken 5 years for them to figure out what was actually wrong. And now, 5 years on, it was finally getting fixed. And a couple of times I chatted with the guys who were there fixing it when I walked up the driveway for something. And this particular time, one of the guys said, back in the old days, what they used to do for waterproofing was they used to paint this black, maybe tar-like sort of paint onto the blockwork.
Oh, we're talking the dark ages.
Oh, yeah. And that was the waterproofing. So they painted this stuff on. But whatever the specifications of this particular house had been, it had been a new product. And so he said to me, and the one line that stuck with me was, we saw this new stuff and we thought it would be better. But here they are having to come back, dig around this building and fix whatever had gone wrong. And it just got me thinking that we see something bright and shiny and new and we think it will be better. But perhaps just because it was a new product, maybe the architect thought, oh, that'll be cool, let's do that, without necessarily knowing for sure that it was actually a better option. I mean, that's just me talking off the top of my head. Maybe it's an awesome product when it's installed correctly, but there was an error and this water was getting in. But yeah, I mean, how often, like, for example, when cell phones first became smart,
yes,
like back in the day, you didn't really bring your cell phone to the table, but then, like, some households, they might say no phones at the table. The phones are smart, but we're going to put them away.
But we're smarter.
And we're going to have conversation. But over time, you're talking about your day and you took a photo and so you just want to grab your phone to show a photo, or you're talking about something and you think, oh, I'll just look that up. And so slowly, even for families where they might have had a basket that everybody put their phone in when they walked in the door, suddenly those phones, they're just reaching for them because now it's become so part of how we do things that we think, well, it's better because I can show them right now. It's an efficient use of time. It makes the story better, all those things. But now you've shown your photo. Now you've got your phone right beside you by your dinner plate and it buzzes and you're just like, oh, I'll just check that. And all of a sudden this temptation that was right across the room is right beside you and it's distracting you from your meal. Things like that. That, yeah, in some regards it is better, but I thought maybe there are some old school habits that we've discarded, sometimes on purpose, sometimes just unintentionally, and what has crept in is something that's not necessarily better.
Yeah, is progress improvement? And I think that's a good question to ask ourselves because, we like to progress and we do, but having those times of connection or maybe unpacking something a bit more and not just taking it on face value because it has a good advertisement behind it. Are we looking at its longevity? Longevity, that word too. Yeah, that one as well. Have we looked at the history of something? Do we know the background of the product we're using? I kind of feel like, it's a bit going back to do we have to say the old days? Like, just back in the past a little bit.
But, like, retro's in fashion, so just think of it as something old school. Like, you see all the young people walking around wearing fluorescent jumpsuits or tracksuits. And I'm just like, oh, I remember those days. It was so cool. All the pastels, like white with these little sort of things over the chest of like sage green and beautiful
Yeah, I
pastel
know,
pink, and it's like, and it's guys wearing them, and it's just like, those were the days. And add the headband around the head. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we could add so much more. But I was going to actually bring up clothing because back in the day, clothing lasted.
Right.
It lasted too long. You know, your parents bought you something and it'd be like last 3 years or something. Like, will this thing wear out so I can get a new one? You know, it was built to last. There were things that were built to last. But as we've become more industrialised and we have far more opportunity to buy things overseas, and it's just all flooding in from places. You know, we get the plastic fantastic, and we did and have become a throwaway society where if something is, you know, got a little dent on it, or it's just
doesn't look pretty anymore.
It doesn't look pretty anymore, or it's, like I say, plastic and it's broken, and then we go and buy another one because it's very cheap, and so we'll just replace it. And yeah, it's this whole thing of, are we looking at a product or relationship with intentionality of what that looks like long term?
As you're talking about clothing, my mind's gone in two different directions. Direction one was when my kids were at high school. They went to a high school where there was a uniform, and I would buy the oldest clothes that were a bit big and assume that he'd grow into it.
Yeah, I remember this.
But it got to a point in his high school that he's just like, Mum, like, I've stopped getting bigger. I'm just wearing around this baggy sack, and you're assuming I'm going to keep getting bigger, but I'm not. Like, stop it. And I went, fancy actually buying for who you are now instead of who I think you're going to become in the future. So I was perhaps projecting stuff onto him of how I thought he would be. And he's just like, no, that was perhaps one of his first pushbacks of, no, accept me for who I am. I thought I was doing a good thing, and it had worked till that point, because obviously, you know, when kids are younger, they just keep growing. But he'd got to that point, which I hadn't experienced yet, where he wasn't just growing from season to season.
And the clothes were lasting and lasting and lasting, and he wanted something new, Denise.
Well, I made a point with my oldest of getting him hand-me-downs, because I was the youngest and I had a lot of hand-me-downs, but I also, because I was the youngest by quite a long way, I also got a few new clothes, and we always passed my clothes on to other people. So I just thought, with him as the oldest, I didn't want him to have the experience of always having new clothes and knowing that his younger siblings would always get hand-me-downs. I was like, nope, he's getting hand-me-downs too.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to what you were talking about with the cell phones on the phone and on the table, at dinner table, and conversations and everything. I mean, we do need to look at this, what has could have come in between us in regards to the connections we used to have without thinking about it, because they were just naturally there. We'd come home from school and there'd be afternoon tea. Well, I don't know if everyone got like that, but, you know, there'd be a bicky, or there'd be time where you'd sit down with your siblings or not, or argue with them, or whatever it was. But there was that connection point in family, or even in relationship, you know, sitting down and having dinner together. And you talked about, you know, the phone being put away, but it's still there, and then it buzzes and we think, well, I'll just check it. You know, or are we using it as a storybook and going, look, have you seen the latest? And have a look at this, you know. And it's this thing that comes in between. And, you know, when we think about connection, what makes us connect as beings, as human beings, you know, it's eye contact, it's touch, it's the voice speaking, it's being seen and being known by that person, and that person hopefully replying like they've actually listened to you and not just waited till you finished so that they could carry on doing what they needed to do, which, you know, you weren't even present at all. You were just waiting for them to finish.
Yeah.
Hurry up.
My husband said something about a guy at his work, I think has the surname Luxon, and he said he introduced him to, actually it was a couple of his friends, but I just heard the word Luxon.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? You had catch up with the Prime Minister? And he was just like, Okay, back up. Because I got
Denise.
distracted. I had a Sudoku in front of me and I just saw one that might, I might have a piece of the puzzle, and I was thinking about that just as he told that story, and nope, I lost him. So it's so easy to do. But again, so with that connection thing, the other thought that my mind went to when you're talking about clothes is shoes, actually. We think shoes are a fashion statement. Shoes enable us perhaps to walk in places that it would be a little bit painful to walk otherwise. But we assume that wearing shoes is better. But every now and then when we take off our shoes and we get into that sand or into that water, because you're talking about connection, when you connect with the ground, your body goes, thank you. So even something as simple as shoes, we assume that pretty shoes are better, yet actually there are effects for that on our body, like high heels, and it might impact your posture. Or, I mean, I'm not saying don't wear shoes and I'm not saying don't wear high heels, but we don't really necessarily think about it. We go, oh, I've got these new shoes. They're really, really cushioned. They're all good. But, or even like Crocs. I've got a guy up the road who hates Crocs. It's hilarious. When I wear my Crocs, I try and hide my feet when he drives past, and he's just like, I saw you. Tell me where you keep them and I'll steal them. But I think there's something about Crocs. It keeps you up, like electrically up off the ground, so you can't connect with the ground when you're wearing these beautiful, well, not beautiful, I mean they're beautiful colours, but like these lovely soft shoes that feel like you're walking on a cloud. But it's not all good news. It keeps you separated and disconnected from the ground.
And we're connected to the earth around us. You might want to Google some of this stuff, and what does it say about connection of our physical self to the earth, and how often therapists will say, and even as a counsellor, you know, to encourage people to get into your garden, to get your hands in the dirt.
Yeah.
You know, that good old saying, it'll make you feel better. You become grounded. And we've got to hear this kind of language, and what does it mean? Like, it obviously has a meaning behind it, and we are connected. Like you say, some people it's the seawater, you know, getting into the salt, into that water, into the feel of it, and it rejuvenates them. Putting your feet in the sand, getting out and putting your feet on earth. You know, digging your toes in.
I mean, you could think about that, going to the supermarket and you're getting lettuce leaves or greens out of a plastic bag, and I do that sometimes, but how much better for you is it if you actually dug them out of your own garden?
We know this,
yeah. So there's convenience and there's the way that the world just is, but there are some things that it might take a little bit of intention to reintroduce. Like, it could just be one thing. You could get a punnet of lettuces in the next month or so and stick them in the ground at your house, so that come summer you can actually pull lettuce leaves out of your garden instead of going and buying it out with a plastic bag.
And again, it comes back to that how we're growing as a society. You know, it's easier. Many would go, well, it's just easier for me to go and buy it from the supermarket. And it takes time to put a garden in it. It takes time to put the produce in the ground. And then it takes time for it to grow. And that's if the snails don't get it and the slugs don't get it and the birds don't eat it. There's lots of variables there that would, you know, in our very quick and easy society that we live in, where we go, oh, it's a too hard basket. I don't want to do that. I'd rather just go and get it out of the, you know, in a plastic and, you know, at the supermarket. But we have to question some of these things, you know, phones on the table, old products that are old and true, tested up against new products that we're just facing now. You know, is this a better product? Is this going to do me better long term, or is this a short term fix that might only last a couple of years? But it has a good sparkle to it. You know, we've got to question it. Is this food feeding my body? Is it nourishing me, giving me the vitamins I need? Or is it just food going in my mouth to fill my stomach so I feel full.
So it's not, I mean, I don't think you are either, not necessarily saying to everybody, get rid of your modern conveniences.
No, because I've got many of them. So that wouldn't work.
It's not about throwing out everything that's around us and trying to live in a isolated
dark ages
little
again.
world. Although, some people choose to do that, and that's great. But it's more about what have you just slipped into. You've just allowed habits to change just because of the way things have gone without really considering the impact. Like, say with kids and watching a lot of time on TV, and they say that when you get your kids off a screen, they're actually a lot calmer. A lot of that sort of really reactive or violent or whatever behaviour that they're just, or they've got so much energy boxed in that they're just climbing up the walls. Give them a ball, send them out to the lawn, if you have a lawn, or a park maybe, and let them kick a ball around and watch the positive difference of something as simple as a ball.
For sure, and like you said, because I'm an electronic girl. I like my devices. I don't have a lot, but the devices I have, I do enjoy engaging with them, and I use them in my life, my everyday life. But I think there are boundaries that we need to be aware of or put down that help us to still grow as people and not rely on technology to grow us for ourselves. We still want to use the brain power that we have and develop how to communicate and develop our own personalities so that we're, I put in inverted commas, better people, whatever that might look like. So hopefully you're better for yourself. You feel better within yourself to be with others. I don't think it's about putting a front on that others go, well, you look great and it's a great front, but what's going on behind that is what really matters. Do you believe you're doing well yourself? Do you believe in yourself? Is it? Yeah, and we don't want to lose these things of developing the person of self.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think of team building activities when you're in a workplace. Some workplaces, I know not everyone does it, but they might take the team away and do a team building activity day, and you can just about guarantee that it's going to be something pretty sort of manual labour, physically demanding. You can't rely on technology to do it. You've actually got to support each other, and those sorts of environments, when we put ourselves in them, do develop relationship, because we have to rely on each other, and it's not comfortable, and you might see something awful, like, just somebody in a situation that they can't keep that front up. Whatever that mask is that they've been wearing, suddenly it comes off, whether it's that they don't deal with losing very well. I mean, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that could be one. Or it could be just, it might be a fear that comes up, that I can't go over that water, I don't do water, or I don't do heights. And suddenly you see a little bit of the humanity of that person, that when they're in a controlled, sterile environment, they can squash that down and present something very different.
Oh, I love that word, that humanity of someone. We never want to lose that, Denise. Behind our screens, behind the technology, we don't want to lose our humanity. And I loved how you talked about the team building things that we can do, because you're right, the masks come down in that moment, and we see a person for maybe not true who they truly are, but in that moment we see something we haven't seen before. and we might laugh about it, or we might be serious about it, but it could be something that moves our heart. See them be compassionate in a way that we've never seen, that compassion in that person, to have empathy. Or we might see a slip up that we go, so you are human after all. This is great to see. And the pedestal a person might have been put on, it comes down a little bit, but we are standing on equal ground again. Yeah. And that's kind of what we want in relationship and community and with each other, is that, we're being as authentic as we can be, Denise. I don't think we're all authentic all the time. That would be kind of, in my eyes, a bit silly, because not everyone needs to see all parts of ourself. I think there are good things. It's what boundaries are there for, to keep me safe and to keep you safe. You know, you don't want to know everything about me, and certainly I don't want you to know everything about me, because, you know, our judgments step in, or our prejudices, or whatever it might be, that divide us at times. But to see a part of somebody in those moments brings us back to our humanity, and I love that word, because that's what we're all about. Take all the devices away, take everything, strip it all back, and we're back to that. We're back to the earth, and we're back to being just individual human beings, not even ploughing the fields. What are we going to plough with if we've got nothing? You know, we use our bare hands, but we just strip it all back. Strip it all back, and what really matters is what's left. The rest is just what we've placed around ourselves, and what we've developed, and what we've been clever enough to develop. But at the end of the day, we are human beings being human.
Absolutely. So I guess, have we become more connected technologically while becoming less connected relationally? That was a little comment that you actually had before the show, and I love that. We've become more connected technologically while becoming less connected relationally. And how true is that? Because when we spend all our time on technology, we can lose some of our skills. It's like exercising a muscle, I guess. When we lose some of our skills because we're not practicing that face-to-face stuff, then it's going to be so much easier to get hurt and hold on to hurts. When we're actually bumping into people all the time, and we realise that they've got flaws just like we do, and we can balance, see ourselves realistically, then perhaps it's a little bit easier to deal with other people's faux pas and things that don't quite go how we would like them to.
Yeah, because in the old techno world, we see snippets, we see smiley faces, we see happy relationships, we see holidays. That's right. We see happiness, we see all these things that we might not be experiencing. And so what looks good on that snippet you're watching could cause in you an effect where you go, I don't have that, or I'm not experiencing that, and how come they get to do that, and I'm slugging away here, working myself into the ground, paying a mortgage, looking after the kids, doing marriage, whatever it might be, that we feel that, is hard at the moment. And we see these moments where others are just, all over the place, and islands, and having fun, and it's an unrealistic view that we fill our senses up with.
Yeah. But that's all we see when we only look through our phones. When we actually connect with the person, that might have been a real, just absolute release for them through quite a hard time. But you don't know that when you just see what they present on social media or whatever.
Yeah, well, it also brings to mind when I think of stardom, the stars out there, the ones who we think have made it. And
but you see their personal life, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah, and the stories that they bring out too of their unhappiness, and the medications that they're on just to control their moods, or to sleep, to have fun, whatever it might be, what they're needing to from the outside world to bring in, because they're not happy, and yet they've got everything that we want: the money, the lifestyle, they've got the swimming pool, the spa, they've got the flash car, everything that we perceive in our minds to make us happy. If I had that, I'd be happy. If I could own that, I'd be happy.
But happiness is not a destination, because as soon as you arrive there, you move the goalposts, and it's like, okay, that was awesome, but I still feel empty. And then you start looking around for the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, you've travelled a lot, Denise, and I've travelled a little bit, very little bit, but it's that destination thing, like the big build-up before you go. Like you feel this big, I'm going to Vanuatu, I'm going to Bali. Those are only two places I've been, by the way. Aussie, been to my country, cousin country, but yeah, those other ones. And the big build-up, what it's going to be like, and island life, and you have an idea in your mind because you've seen things online, and you think it's all going to be like this, and you step into a world that's really unfamiliar to you, and it is exciting in the moment. But then, as I realised in Vanuatu, I looked around and I saw the locals and them just doing life and how they did it, just very simply, and some of them were struggling, and I was like, wow, this is the same scenario back home. These people are just, they are experiencing the same thing.
Yep.
Just in a different country, and even in Bali, which I absolutely loved Bali. I loved the people there. They were so beautiful and open and friendly. But I've talked to other people, not everyone's had that experience. That's my experience of what that was like.
Right.
And is it long term? Does it go on forever and ever and ever? Amen. Is it? We see a snippet of something, and but I came away from there quite pleased to be back home and having a lot of space around me. But I went over with this huge expectation of Bali, and I mean, I loved it, Denise, and it was wonderful in the moment. But it's just a moment in time. That's not everything. There's still parts in me that have been developed because of going over there. If I didn't go over there, then I probably wouldn't have been open to the rich culture and the visuals that I got and the experience of all of that. But that's not my life. There's things back here now. There's reality of being who I am back in my own community, and who am I here, and what am I developing within myself. I suppose I could have sat on my phone and just looked at pictures of Bali forever and ever and gone, I just want to go back.
Yeah.
And then taken away from the feeling of the great experience that I did have.
But when you get there, you'll notice things like it smells different.
Oh, yeah.
And the temperature.
Oh, it was so hot, Denise.
And the sounds.
It was pretty full on. Wow, I've never seen such chaos. Never in my entire life. Never have I seen power lines like that in my entire life. Or that much traffic, or that much noise and activity. It was like, it was a central overload. Yeah.
So the experience of it is so much more than, you get a sense through online, but when you're actually there and experiencing it, it's so much richer.
Oh, yeah, it was incredible. But getting back to that, the haves and the have-nots, that's not a trip that my awesome son and his partner, paid for all that trip. That's not something I could have done on my own. I was very blessed in that time to have that experience and have it with them. It was so cool. But, it's not something I could have done on my own. So people might have looked at me and gone, oh, she's so lucky. She got to go overseas, she got to do this, she got to do that.
Yeah.
But actually, I didn't pay for any of that. My son did. And that was, like I say, a blessing. And sometimes these great things happen in life, but that doesn't put me ahead of anyone else.
Yeah. But again, thinking about the assumptions is back to that same thing. We thought it would be better. Maybe somebody looked at you and saw your stories of Bali or pictures of Bali and went, oh, yeah, well, of course Maree can do that.
or more so, I didn't think Maree could afford that. How she afford that? It might be more the truth right there. Yeah, and then people assume that they know a picture that, but actually the picture is I was blessed by my awesome family.
Yeah, which is pretty special.
Yeah, it was. And I think we're just about there, Denise.
Yeah, I think so. So, we started with somebody who there had been an old school way of doing things, and when the new product came out, literally his sentence was, we thought it would be better. We just assumed. And I guess the invitation for today is actually, when you've been making assumptions that something that you do is better, maybe take a step back and look at it from a different perspective and see if it's growing in you something that is healthy, something that nurtures you, nurtures your family, nurtures your relationships, and see if there's perhaps an old school version, something that you used to do that actually serves your family better.
Oh, that's a good takeaway from this week's discussion, Denise. Totally agree. Couldn't add to that any better.
You've been listening to a Faith Matters podcast. If you have questions, email us on faithmatters98.1fm@gmail.com.